Somewhere beneath the cold, black ocean lies a secret that has been sleeping for 77 years. A mighty warship that vanished without a trace. Hundreds of souls aboard, gone in minutes. The world searched for it and found nothing. Governments forgot it. Families stopped hoping. But the ocean never forgets. And when divers finally reached the bottom, what they saw on that ship was something no one was prepared for. Welcome to Deep Wave Discovery, where the ocean tells its oldest, darkest secrets. Now listen, if you are watching this video today, do yourself a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. Think of it this way. You wouldn't throw away a good book halfway through the best chapter, would you? This channel is that book. And every video is a chapter worth finishing. So subscribe. Stay with us. You won't regret it. And before we dive deep, we want to know something simple. Where in the world are you watching this from right now? Drop your city, your country, anything right down there in the comments. It always amazes the team here at Deep Wave Discovery just how far these stories travel. Now, let's go back. Way back. The year was 1942. The world was burning. On every ocean, on every sea, ships were moving. Some carried soldiers, some carried supplies, and some carried both. One such ship was cutting through dark waters on a mission that its crew believed was routine. They had done this before. They trusted their vessel. They trusted their orders. The ship was a proud military asset, built strong, armed well, and crewed by young men who had kissed their families goodbye and promised they would return. The captain stood at the helm that morning with steady eyes and a calm voice. He had seen rough waters before. He had navigated danger before. But no one, not the captain, not the crew, not the military commanders watching from shore, could have predicted what the next few hours would bring. The mission was simple on paper. Move fast, stay quiet, reach the destination. But war has never respected paper. Somewhere along that route, a threat appeared. It came fast. The crew barely had time to react. Alarms rang. Men ran. Orders were shouted across a ship that was suddenly no longer in control. Within minutes, the vessel that had seemed so powerful, so unstoppable, began to tilt. Water, cold, furious, unforgiving, rushed in where it was never meant to go. The radio operator sent one last signal. Then silence. The ship slipped beneath the surface and disappeared into the deep. 77 years of silence began that day, and the ocean closed over it. Like it had never existed at all, the ocean keeps the best secrets. Not because it tries to, but because it can. When that ship vanished beneath the surface in 1942, the world above did not stop moving. Wars do not pause for the missing. Military commanders filed their reports. They marked the vessel as lost. It's a single word. Cold. Final. Written in ink that dried fast and was turned to the next page even faster. But for the families waiting on shore, there was no next page. There was only the door that never opened, the letter that never came, the name that slowly stopped being spoken out loud because speaking it hurt too much. Wives became widows quietly. Mothers folded uniforms and placed them in boxes. Children grew up asking one question: where is he? And the answer was always the same: we don't know. Decades passed. The 1950s came and went. Then the 60s. Then the 70s. Technology was advancing fast above the surface. Men walked on the moon. Computers filled entire rooms. Satellites circled the Earth. But beneath the ocean, the wreck sat undisturbed, untouched by time in the way only deep water allows. Searchers tried, of course. In the early years, naval teams swept the coordinates where the ship was last reported. They found nothing. In the 1970s, a small research team used early sonar equipment to scan the seabed. They found nothing. In the 1990s, As underwater exploration technology began to improve dramatically, two separate expeditions targeted the same region. Both came back empty-handed. The ocean floor is not a simple place to search. It is vast beyond imagination. Currents shift debris for miles. Saltwater corrodes metal slowly but completely. Sand and sediment bury evidence the way time buries memory layer by layer, year by year. What looks like ocean floor is sometimes a graveyard, and graveyards are not always easy to find. By the year 2019, most official records had quietly stopped listing the wreck as a search priority. The men aboard had been honored. Memorials had been built. Plaques had been placed on walls. The world had moved on. But one small team of divers had not. They had studied the original reports. They had analyzed the ocean currents of that era. They had cross-referenced weather data from 1942, and they believed with quiet, stubborn certainty that the ship was still out there, waiting, not lost, just hidden. There is a moment every diver knows. The moment the surface disappears above them, then the world goes completely quiet. It was early morning when the team's vessel anchored at the coordinates. No fanfare. No cameras rolling yet. It's just 6 people in wetsuits, standing on a rocking deck, staring down at water so dark it looked like it had no bottom at all. The lead diver checked his equipment one final time. His hands were steady, but his eyes told a different story. Because this team had been here before, not at this exact spot, but at this exact feeling. The feeling that today might actually be the day. They went in one by one. The water swallowed them slowly. First the feet, then the waist, then the shoulders. Then the world above the boat, the sky, the sunlight. All of it shrank to a pale shimmer overhead, and then it was gone. 30 feet down, nothing. 60 feet, nothing. 100 feet. The temperature dropped so suddenly that one diver later described it as swimming into a wall of cold. The underwater lights cut through the darkness in thin, pale beams. Particles of sediment drifted past them like slow-motion snow. And then, at approximately 180 feet below the surface, something appeared in the distance. A shape. Not rock, not reef. Something geometric. Something made by human hands. The team moved toward it slowly, carefully. The way you approach something you have been searching for your entire career, with equal parts excitement and fear. As they got closer, the shape grew larger. And then the full silhouette emerged from the darkness like a ghost stepping out of shadow. A hull. Massive, tilted slightly to one side, covered in 77 years of ocean life, coral growing where steel used to shine, sea creatures moving through windows that once held watching eyes. The ship had not just sunk. It had transformed. The divers moved along the outer hull in silence. Their cameras recorded everything. A porthole still intact, a section of railing, bent but unbroken. And then, near the bow of the ship, something that made the lead diver stop completely. Stop breathing for just a moment. Stop moving. He reached out slowly, and his gloved hand touched it. A nameplate, still readable, still there after 77 years of darkness, pressure, and silence. The ship had a name. It had always had a name. And now, the world was about to hear it again. But that was not the most important thing they found. Not even close, because further inside the wreck, in a corridor that had not seen light since 1942, something was waiting. Something that would not just confirm how this ship sank, but would rewrite everything historians thought they knew. The ocean gives nothing easily. It holds, it guards, it waits, but when it finally releases a secret, it releases everything. The divers moved deeper into the wreck, carefully, slowly. Every corridor was a tunnel of darkness. Every room was a frozen moment in time, preserved by cold water and crushing pressure in a way that no museum on Earth could replicate. This was not an exhibit. This was the real thing. The first room they entered stopped them completely. Personal belongings still sat where they had been left. A coffee mug, upright on a shelf, as if someone had simply stepped away for a moment and was about to come back. A pair of boots neatly placed beside a bunk, the way a tired sailor places them before lying down for a few hours of sleep. A photograph pressed behind. Broken glass of a woman and two small children standing in front of a house somewhere in the sunlight. Somewhere that had no idea what was happening down here. But it was further inside, deeper in the belly of the ship, where the real discovery waited. The divers entered what had once been the ship's lower cargo and operations corridor. And what they found there was not what anyone expected. Evidence of a second explosion, not one impact, not one strike. 2. The structural damage told a clear story to the engineers and naval historians watching the footage later. The first impact, already known, already recorded in the 1942 reports, had struck the starboard side. But there was a second point of catastrophic damage. Internal, deeper, different in character. This was not from an outside weapon. This damage came from within the ship itself. Naval historians reviewing the footage went quiet for a long time, because this changed everything. The official record had always stated that the ship was lost due to enemy attack alone. Clean, simple, final. But the wreck told a different story. The evidence suggested that something on board, something in the lower cargo hold, had ignited after the first strike. Something that was never supposed to be there. Or something that was there, but never officially recorded. Classified cargo. That was the theory that began to surface among the research team and historians. In 1942, military vessels routinely carried undocumented materials, experimental equipment, sensitive documents, and, in some cases, munitions that did not appear on any official manifest. The second explosion fit the profile of an ammunition or fuel reserve igniting under impact pressure. And if that was true, if the ship was carrying something it was never supposed to carry, then the rapid sinking made complete sense. The crew never had a chance. Not because the enemy was too powerful, but because the ship was already dangerous before it ever left port. The divers surfaced that evening in complete silence. No celebration, no noise. Just 6 people sitting on a deck as the sun went down over the water. Thinking about 77 years. Thinking about families who never got answers. Thinking about young men who went down not knowing the full truth of what they were carrying. The ocean had kept this secret for nearly 8 decades, not out of cruelty, but because no one had been willing to go deep enough, to ask the right questions. The ship has now been officially logged, its coordinates recorded. Its evidence submitted to naval historians and military archives in 2 countries. The families of the crew, those who are still alive to hear it, have been quietly notified. For them, there are no more missing pages, only the truth, cold, deep, and finally, brought to the surface. This is what the ocean does not destroy history, it preserves it, waiting patiently, silently for someone brave enough to go down into the dark and bring the truth back up into the light. This has been Deep Wave Discovery. If this story moved you, if it made you think, feel, or wonder, then share it with someone today, because some stories deserve to be heard by more than one generation. And somewhere out there, beneath waters we have not yet explored, more ships are waiting, more secrets, more truth, more names that deserve to be spoken again. The ocean is not finished with us yet.